My mouth and the meditations of my heart be always acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. Amen. It's weird for me to preach on evenings. Some people say good morning, so if I stumble with my days and times tonight, you know what I mean. First of all, I want to tell you it's a privilege. It is a true privilege to be with you here this evening. Your pastor, Reverend Dr. E. Scott Jones, is one of my favorite people here in Oklahoma City. We have coffee pretty religiously every Wednesday morning. And he has grown over the last several years that we've known each other to be just one of my favorite people. And you are a blessed congregation to have a ministry that cares so deeply for you, for the needs of Oklahoma City. So tonight, I was looking through the lectionary passages, as pastors do. And there's one of them, the Revelation passage. It's weird, first of all. Revelation is a weird book. And there's only three types of pastors. There's three types of preachers that really deal with the Revelation of John. There's that first group. They just kind of ignore it. Like, wow, it's just there. It's peculiar and it's weird and we want to ignore it because it's been co-opted, it's been taken advantage of, it's been utilized in bad ways by rampant radical fundamentalists. And so we usually say that we're done with that. It's kind of like that cousin that we all know we have in our families that no one wants to talk about. And we're just kind of over there. Cousin Louie, see, there he is. And then there's that second group, that aforementioned rampant radical fundamentalists that I talk about. And they love this book. And they just adore it. And they attempt to ascribe to it statements and beliefs that frankly just aren't there. But they like it because it kind of serves a purpose. It reflects and reinforces their own sort of political and social preferences, stereotypes, bigotries. It's just this idea that obviously the dragon represents Bush, or it represents Putin, or Obama, or Gordon Brown, or Sooners. It's just kind of this idea that just reinforces these stereotypes that we hold. But then there's that third group that I myself, and I think your pastor finds themselves in, that we approach with a little bit of trepidation. We're going to weigh out a few feet, and we're going to see what's going on, and bring some sort of contextual and relevant meaning to this often abused book. So tonight, we're going to go on an adventure. We're going to do this. I want to tempt the preacher's seat. I've never tried my hand at preacher B, the fire and brimstone type, but it might be fun to try. I never really come to the Bible, so that might be something for me to try. But it's just not my style, and frankly, it's just the wrong way of approaching the gospel. So let's journey into Revelation together a little bit. Just a little bit. Pastor's told me that he's done a lot of work with you all beforehand, so I don't have to go into a lot of work. So what's all going on here? We have weird visions. We have cities coming down from heaven. We have oceans disappearing. We have promises of reconciliation. We have God's promise to comfort us. We have God deciding that I'm going to make my home with you. I'm going to inhabit with you. I'm going to put down some tent stakes and say this is where I'm going to be. We have strange visions. We have peculiar creatures. We have dragons. We have locusts. We have singing choirs. It's like a bad acid trip. We can spend all our time. We can spend all of it decoding all these various symbols, and we could try to talk about Nero and Domitian, and we could talk about Rome and the Empire and everything else, and a lot of the persecution of Christians in Rome. But honestly, it's going to be wearisome to do that. And it would be kind of useless, I think, to enumerate the more prominent and wrong applications that have been made of the Revelation of John. See, so often, racial hatred, political bigotry, and religious animosity at all times. Got a lot of ammo in this book. Useful and gratifying stuff to attack those they disagree with. That's not my mission tonight. My mission is to talk about hope. We can get caught up in minutiae. We can look for clues that aren't there. Do you remember Hal Lindsey, the late great Planet Earth? And in that book, they just kept coming back around because it made money. We can look for symbols like he does that just aren't there. Or Jack Manby, the Bible quoting machine gun that you find on Channel 14 so often. This makes a lot of money for people. But again, that's not what I'm doing tonight. We're not going to talk about the misapplications. We're not going to do any of that. But we're going to use it as something far more powerful, something far more beautiful, my brothers and sisters. We're going to use it as a guide, a point of imagination, as we seek to articulate the Christian message. The Christian message of love, of redemption, of peace. And my favorite word, justice and forgiveness to a world that around us so desperately needs it. We look around us and it needs this message. And contrary to popular belief, my brothers and sisters, And contrary to popular belief of the religious fundamentalists, they're not bad people, they're just wrong. We can start there, it's okay. When we read the Revelation of John, we're not having any reason to be discouraged. We have no reason to be made fearful of God. And so often when I think of all the stuff that's coming out about Revelation or Apocalypse or Left Behind, people are terrified of God. And that's not the message of Revelation. We instead should see great promise from God to all of us, to all of creation. The promise that God is still in control, that God is still working, that God is still speaking, and that God's people can, will, and ought to make a difference in this world. The Revelation of John answers an existential question. It speaks to the very depth of our being, bringing answers to our great questions that we all suffer with as we go through life. It brings answers to questions about life, the universe, and everything else. Does God care? Does anybody know my pain? Can anything ever really be different? Does God understand and feel my pain? Can I ever see a brighter day? Will we ever see better days? Am I, an important person? Can I be of any significance in this world? The answer to those questions, my brothers and sisters, is resounding. It is clear and it is profound. It's one word. Yeah. Yes. But, however, we have another problem. We have another problem with religious talk. And most of the religious talk these days is about how just awful this world is, and how we just need to hunker in the bunker and pray and get ready for the rocket ship to go up to heaven. And that's what most of us have heard growing up. And that's what tragically makes a lot of money. And so it's easy to do those kinds of things. And it is profound and sad. It is a terrible, terrible misreading and misrepresentation of what the Christian life is to be about, what the Christian action is to be. And that's deeply sad. And it breaks my heart deeply. When I see that that's what we're doing with this beautiful message of hope and reconciliation that is the life of Jesus, but also the revelation of John, we see consistently, continually, and constantly this bad misunderstanding of the character and nature of God as we listen to religious talk. We don't have to look too far. We just pick up a newspaper, pick up the Daily Disappointment, turn on religious broadcasting, and check out some street preachers. If you really want to figure out what's going on, listen to the street preachers. Street preachers are way more than just annoying. I think at some level, they kind of serve as a barometer, a cultural barometer of the worst aspects of all of our religious fears. Sometimes, rarely, what they're saying is beautiful, noble, and pure and good. But really, most of the time, it's just bad. The vast majority, it's dangerous, it's hateful, it's detrimental, it breaks hearts, and it does great damage to God's hope for the world. And it doesn't express its love of Jesus stuff that we're all about. Now, I've had my fair share of interactions with street preachers. I would even say I've had more than my fair share. Because I have a hobby. I seek them out. I hunt them. If it's Friday night, my wife's out of town, or she's at a little book club, I go hunting. I get in my car and I go down to Bricktown. I go buy myself a street preachers and go watch them, get myself a soda, and get myself a little bit of popcorn and go out there and sit. And I'm not joking, I really do this. Well, in Kansas City was a lot easier. They were more prolific there. I think it was their natural habitat. See, I love to talk to street preachers. It's a morbid and it's a masochistic curiosity, and it's kind of like NASCAR. I don't watch it because I enjoy racing. I like race. So I love to do these kinds of things. Now, I find their ranting, rambling diatribes two things. I find them hysterical, but also profoundly sad. Now, I had one interaction a few years ago, and my wife was kind. We had some friends in town. We're all down in Bricktown. There was one standing near the bridge over by where the haunted warehouse is. And I'm like, sweetie, can I stay? You guys can pick up the car because I don't want to watch this. She's like, fine. She's supporting my vision. This house. So I'm sitting there, and I'm watching, and